Hey, I'm Evan Smith with ReVan Media, and I'm up here at VMP Performance with Justin Starkey. Today we're talking about superchargers. Since 2011, when the Coyote came out, supercharging, boost is like the main thing for Mustang guys to make a lot of extra horsepower. And VMP, you guys specialize in that, Justin.
Yeah, so we've got our own VMP supercharger kit for 11 to 17 Coyote Mustangs with the 5-liter engine. And we get a lot of questions as to what the different stages include and what's best for a particular person. So I'm going to work with Evan today to talk about some of the differences in the different stages and kind of tell you guys what we have to offer and how it's going to fit into your plans.
So VMP offers 3 stages of superchargers to meet the demands of everything from the most mild bolt-on combination to the wildest combination on E85 making 800-900 horsepower. So Justin, begin maybe by telling us about stage 1, which would be the entry-level kit, what's cool about it, what's good about it, and then we'll expand on going to stage 2 and stage 3.
Yeah, so our stage 1 VMP supercharger kit is the least expensive way to supercharge your Coyote. All the componentry is basically designed to be cost-effective, get you around 550 at the tires. The heat exchanger is just a no-frills, single-pass heat exchanger. The pulley is the largest one we offer, the 85 millimeter. That keeps the fuel demand low and just is kind of easy on parts. Now, the thing that's unique about stage 1 is it's great for those guys that maybe have a local tuner that they like to work with or are going to tune their own car. So there's no calibration included.
So stage 1, tell us a little bit about the head unit or the main, the compressor. You guys design your own deal. It's got a high flow inlet. It's got efficient rotor pack. It bolts on really nice. It looks good. What's the challenges to developing a blower kit that is expandable and fits everybody's needs?
So that's a great point, Evan. And that's the great thing about our stages of supercharger kits and our whole system. Everything is modular. When you buy a VMP supercharger kit, you still get the VMP head unit that we've become famous for. But you can always upgrade parts and pieces later on, like the throttle body. You can go to a smaller pulley. You can go to a bigger throttle body. You can change the injectors. Pretty much, if you buy a stage 1 right now, just get going. You can always upgrade the componentry later on, but the core, the supercharger, still stays the same.
Right, so stage 1 is for the guy that maybe doesn't want to change the injectors. He might have a stock exhaust. He wants that extra power. And how much power can you get out of stage 1?
So stage 1's good for about 550 at the tires approximately.
That's a pretty darn good number. But for some people, it's just not enough, right?
Exactly.
So stage 2, right?
Yeah, stage 2 is our most common supercharger kit. So that comes with a VMP custom calibration, and it also has a host of other VMP componentry.
Yeah, that's an important point. So you get an intercooler that's fanned, meaning it has fans attached to it, right?
Yeah, you get our dual fan, triple pass heat exchanger that goes in the lower grill. And the important point to make about that is it keeps everything cool all the time. The fans are pulling air through it. The triple pass design gives you the lowest possible temperatures. And that's what we find the guys want out on the street is they don't want the car to heat soak.
Right, and now the Coyote, compared to the mod motor, has more compression in stock trim. Is that the reason that you really need to keep the thing cooler? Because like obviously an 0304 Cobra or Lightning has a heat exchanger. It's not fanned from the factory, but it's important to use that item on Coyote.
Yeah, so that's a great point, Evan. The Coyote, being that it's a high compression motor, it's very sensitive to temperatures, and that affects how much time it'll tolerate. With the dual fan heat exchanger and the triple pass design, we keep those temperatures as low as possible so we can always run as much timing as possible for maximum performance.
Now, of course, the other thing you need to make horsepower aside from boost is fuel. And you guys upgrade the fuel system in the stage 2 kit as well, correct?
Right. So stage 2 adds a VMP plug-and-play fuel pump booster. So this is going to make sure that the volume from the factory fuel pump is always high enough to support the power levels that are targeted in stage 2.
So we're still running a returnless style fuel system, but by upping the voltage, the fuel pump actually feeds the motor more fuel, and you can get away with making a lot more power with still using the stock pumps, right?
Exactly. And we're Stage 2 is designed for 600 to 650 at the tires.
Which is a pretty darn nice upgrade. But for some people, it's just not enough, right?
Yeah. So, the cream of the crop when it comes to VMP supercharger kits for the Coyote is the Stage 3. Stage 3 adds our twin jet 67mm throttle body.
Which, let's talk about this thing for a minute, because in addition to flowing quite a lot of air, it's a work of art. This thing is cut from a billet of aluminum. It's polished. You can see the CNC machine work in here is just absolutely incredible. This looks like it was not an easy thing to make. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so, we've been making throttle bodies for years. And with throttle bodies, what people don't always realize is bigger's not always better. It's a balance of drivability and performance. And this twin jet 67 design really sets itself apart because it will still flow a ton of air to make 800 plus to the tires, but it'll still idle like stock and drive like stock. And one of the things that's unique about our throttle bodies is they're all shipped assembled with electronics on either end. They're calibrated at the time of manufacture, and they have plastic gears inside. So they're not as susceptible to the idle problems and the surging that some other gear styles can be susceptible to.
Right, and obviously this is a plug and play item. 4 bolts, an electrical plug, and you're in business. And like you were saying, as you go larger in throttle body size, what people don't realize is the smaller amount of throttle opening gives you a lot more air, and that's where a lot of the tuning issues come from, correct?
Yeah. If you go too big on the throttle body, it can be a nightmare to tune. And for our customers that just bought a brand new Mustang, they want to make the horsepower, but they still want the car to drive nice. That's really our goal, is to be able to give you your cake and eat it too.
Right, and in some cases, you have a balance of all-out power, drivability. Drivability, to me, is always very important, especially when you shell out the kind of money for a supercharger, putting it on your brand new car. The last thing you want is a surging idle or a part throttle miss or a flat spot, right?
Exactly. And the other thing I want to say about Stage 3, to support the higher horsepower levels that Stage 3 is targeted at, it includes 95-pound injectors. And these are basically going to give you all the fuel you're ever possibly going to need for a stock motor. If you wanted to run E85 in the future, you'd be that much closer. All you'd need is a return style fuel system.
Right, and now obviously this small little pulley here, let's talk about that, because there's quite a difference between this and this.
Yes, and there's, believe it or not, about 200 rear wheel horsepower between those two pulley sizes.
Oh, I believe it.
You're looking at 9 pounds of boost, about 15 to 16 pounds of boost.
That's pretty incredible. Now, how does the tuning window shrink when you start really escalating in boost level?
The thing that people have to realize is that the more boost you run, the more octane you need. Like we were saying earlier, the Coyote engine is high compression. So above about 11 to 12 pounds of boost, we recommend going to an octane booster fuel additive or going to E85.
Right. Because what you're really trying to do is prevent detonation, prevent spark knock from occurring. Because once that happens, it's bad news.
Exactly. And that's the other thing too. With our Stage 2 and Stage 3 kits, we include a VMP custom calibration and our data logging, review, and tune adjustment support. So we want to get logs back from your car after you install the VMP supercharger kit.
Now that's something, the data logging is something that maybe you could explain, because not only do you encourage it, it's very important for a reason. Maybe you could explain what it is and why it's so important for the average person to data log after they install a supercharger.
So all the VMP Stage 2 and Stage 3 supercharger kits, they come with a tuning device and a VMP calibration. And we send that tuning device out loaded with a base tune that is going to get your car running, driving, and doing pretty well. However, that base tune is purposely mild until we get logs back, because if there was an installation issue or a fuel quality issue, we can spot that in the data logs.
Right, and you'd certainly want to know that before you went and made a full pull at the track, right?
Exactly.
So once you get the tuning log or the data log back from the customer, what do you do here to ensure that they get the most power, the most drivability, or the best drivability and the most reliability from their VMP supercharger kit?
So one of our calibrators is going to look over the data log. They're going to work back and forth with the customer. They may ask questions. They may, give them things to try if they see an issue.
Right.
But we're going to go back and forth with you, and usually it only takes 2 or 3 times to get the car dialed in and performing to its peak.
Now, still talking about the topic of data logging, that can be intimidating, especially for the first time. Let's say you've never had a car with a supercharger, or you're really a carburetor guy, you're a screwdriver and wrench kind of guy. This data logging can be intimidating to some people. Is it intimidating?
It's really easier than it sounds. I think a lot of people put it off because they're afraid of it. But with the tuning device that we use, you don't even need a laptop. You can load the configuration file that we send you onto the tuning device. You can go drive the car, and we recommend driving it in a specific way to gather the data that we need. And you record that data on the device, come back to your computer, upload it, and email it to us, and then we go from there.
So basically, if you're capable of shooting an email to somebody, then you can certainly handle transferring the file of a data log.
Yes. I mean,
cool.
Yeah, the device is USB. It's now becoming cloud enabled, and more features are being added for that. So it's really not something to be afraid of.
Right, and then are you working with one of your tuners in real time? How long does it generally take maybe to get a tune or to get the information back to the customer?
The most important thing to remember is that the tune we send you is going to be extremely close, and sometimes, in some cases, perfect. However, we just still want to get our eyes on data logs from your car to make sure that it's going to be 100% right for you. And usually over the course of a couple days, we can get everything reviewed and checked out.
Right. So now we're on the topic of the stage 3 kit, and everybody wants to know, what's the top end on horsepower? How much steam can you make with the stage 3 kit if you've got all the bells and whistles?
Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 numbers on that. I'm going to give you what you should be doing and what's possible.
Okay.
On pump gas with good exhaust, the range for a stage 3 kit is approximately 650 to 700 at the tires. And like I said, you got to have good exhaust if you're going to go for those types of numbers. Given the limitations we talked about earlier of pump gas, if you're able to provide us with more octane to work with than pump gas using an additive or E85 or race gas, the stage 3 supercharger kit will support 800 plus to the tires with all the parts that are included with the kit.
So Justin, 3 stages of supercharging, fitting the needs of all the Mustang people out there, up to 800 plus horsepower. What are your final thoughts?
Well, we really designed our VMP supercharger kits and all the VMP specific componentry to meet the needs of the consumer. So we believe you'll find a kit that works for you, and we'll be there to support it with great VMP custom calibrations and everything else you need to go with it.
So if you want to check out VMP and learn more, be sure to stop by our Facebook page, check us out on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram.